You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Let's get spooky. This is our station, Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen.
And welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted hosts, we have Lisa.
Hello, groovy ghoulies.
We have Karen.
What up, my horrorholics?
And I am Shannon. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about Guillermo del Toro's very first film, Cronos. So let's get spooky. Hey Horrorholics, it's Shannon. Earth Station Boo has just launched its brand new merch store. It's time to get your hands on some killer gear. From our fun logo shirts, cozy hoodies, Let's Get Spooky stickers, and Horrorholics Anonymous totes, there's something for every one of our lovely little ghouls. We offer our spooky designs on many different types of products to fit your desires. But if you happen to see a missed opportunity, just let us know. And unlike most of Stephen King's adaptations, you know what I'm talking about, you won't be disappointed with the quality of the products. Head over to our link tree in our bio, grab your merch, show off your favorite horror podcast, and most of all, let's get spooky.
All right, monkeying around, start talking.
Mr. Bobalina, Mr. Bob Bobalina,
About your podcast.
We talk about an Emmy-winning comedy series.
We talk about a band who outsold the Beatles and the Stones in 1967.
Still sticking to that story, huh? Well, if you know what's good for you, you'll change your tune.
We talk about a groundbreaking multimedia project
That inspired generations of artists and fans.
All right, throw the book at them.
This book is overdue.
Monkeeing Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Okay, so we have Cronos. It was Del Toro's very first film, feature film. Previous to this, he'd done mostly like TV stuff. This is when he was still like heavily living in Mexico. And he released this movie in May of 1994. It is definitely a 90s film, but it's the start of Del Toro's career as we know it. And we love Del Toro here. We are a Del Toro stan account. This podcast, we will always say, yay, Del Toro. Okay, so what is our initial thoughts on this specific film, Cronos? Lisa, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay. I first saw it in the later 90s at an art house, and I fell in love with it. I've always gone to like the old art theaters because once you get to know me, you'll realize that I am a cinephile and I love art films. And I just fell in love with the whole concept. I like everything. I mean, just the way it meshed together and the sets and everything. It's just, it was like you were actually in the story. So, I mean, once I saw it and I'm like, ooh, who is this guy? I started looking for his other stuff. And that's the beginning of my obsession with Mr. Del Toro. So, yeah, it was a great film. It was good to see in the theater, too.
I believe it. Karen, how about you?
Well, I've heard of Cronos, but I never watched it until this weekend, and it was actually pretty good for a first feature film of his. I actually really enjoyed it. Of course, I was like, okay, let me put this in English subtitles, and it didn't have English subtitles. I was like, oh no, what's going on? Because on the thing it said English subtitles off, and I was like, no, what's going on? I don't understand Spanish. And I was like really happy that it did include subtitles, for the Spanish, and then they were speaking
Mhm.
English, half Spanish, half English, and I was like, okay. But I really thoroughly enjoyed the movie. My cat Sammy actually watched it with me too. He was like, "Oh, let me
Okay,
watch."
cool. That's awesome. This is the first time I've watched it. It has been something that's been on my to be watch list. Like I actually found it on three different like streaming platforms. I had it as a saved thing. It was only available on one of them, but it was they're like as soon as this title comes back to this platform, we can you can watch it. I thoroughly loved it. Is it like the classic Del Toro that we know of, like from like Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy and Crimson Peak and like all that kind of stuff? No, but it is Del Toro, and you can tell by the way the story is written and the way that the characters interact, the whole nine. It is very much a Del Toro film. It's definitely enjoyable. It's something that I probably will rewatch again, and I enjoyed it. So the basis of this film is this old man, this grandpa, runs this like little what did they call it? A bazaar. So just a shop that has all sorts of trinkets and gizmos and gadgets and antiques and anything that you can find you could find there. And he goes there every day with his granddaughter, who runs around and plays with him inside the store while they wait for customers to come in. They had a sketchy guy come in. He was looking at this angel statue. Grandpa's like, why is he paying attention to that statue? They end up finding this gold device in the base of the statue. And that device is called the Cronos machine. And it's from this alchemist from back in the 1500s who created it, and it supposedly gives you long life. Well, he gets infected by it and uses it a few different times. Finally, the sketchy guy's boss comes to get the statue because they're looking for that device. And it all hell breaks loose from there. There's transformations involved. Essentially, vampirism is kind of like a thing that comes through this. Getting younger, turning to stone. It's kind of weird, but kind of cool. There's death, there's beat ups, and you have Ron Perlman. The first film where you have Ron Perlman and Del Toro together. And this is why Del Toro was like, he's my Hellboy. So if you guys don't let me have him as Hellboy, we're not making any Hellboy movies. And it's because of Perlman's performance in this film. So that's kind of the gist of the movie without spoiling the end, because the end is actually kind of cool, and I think you should watch it and see the end. Kind of talk about how this is Del Toro's first film. That's amazing to think, like, oh, this is this prolific director's first film. Karen, what do you think about it?
I enjoyed the movie very much, and it is reminiscent of Del Toro. It's like he's first finding his voice, but with his storytelling, it's Del Toro because of the lures that he uses and the little bit of gothness that is there. And when you see the special effects, especially of the mechanical gold thingy
Mm-hmm.
scarab, it's very reminiscent of Del Toro. Yeah, it's not, the definitive voice of Del Toro, but it is his first voice
Mm-hmm.
because you see him, maturing after each, movie that he does.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Lisa?
Well, I love the Kronos machine. That was just like so cool. And for his first movie, and I've watched a lot of first movies from a lot of friends and other people. And for his first movie, this was just beautiful. Even if it was definitely his storytelling. It was, and he had just started. You could tell by some of the camera angles that he just started his style, what would proceed into the next and many other films. So for a first movie, I think it was brilliant. I mean, you were captivated. You were in. I mean, I'm glad you guys finally got to watch it. But yeah, for his first film, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It definitely, I think, because this is also written by him. I think story wise, the plot, the way the characters talk to each other, interact with each other, this is Del Toro even today. Like I would even compare this to today's stuff. I think visually, this is baby Del Toro. This is his itty bitty kind of stuff where you can see like, okay, I see what he was trying to do with that camera angle. Now he knows how to do it better. And he's mastered it. The special effects and some of the props and stuff like that were done by the FX team that he originally had. He had like an FX special effects movie company during the time of this film, and so that's who made a lot of the stuff. So that's why the Cronos machine is something like you can even see out of what Hellboy 2. Is that the Golden Age one? Like you could see that in there. Easy. You could see it in Pan's Labyrinth. Easy. Pinocchio even. Like you could see that device in any of his future films easily. And you wouldn't even have like a second thought of whether or not like that piece was there. Because it's set, like that's him. But I do think it was very much a baby him. Because the coloring wasn't his normal kind of coloring. His shots weren't quite the Del Toro shots, but you could see the foundation, and the foundation's fucking awesome. It's fucking solid. But I kind of started off with the special effects. Let's go ahead and kind of chit chat about that because we know that's what we love most about Del Toro films.
Absolutely, 100%.
He's so good with the special effects.
I know.
He's so good with all of that. So, Lisa, why don't you go ahead and start? Because I know you're like chomping at the bit to like start talking about all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my special effects. Oh, okay. Well, some trivia about the Cronos machine. It actually, after the film, it actually got stolen, and the only replica he has is from the mold that Maria Figueroa made. So that's the only existence. No one knows what happened to it. But the fact that it actually worked, it was like a clockwork, which is amazing to me. I've always been fascinated with clockwork. The blood was great. The skin was great. I mean, it was like an exoskeleton of insects, which is really kind of reminiscent of his other movie, which we all kind of cringe at because it grosses us out, called Mimic. But it's just, I liked the whole, for being a low budget film or his first film, to get away with such beautiful effects and make it so believable is just genius. And even he used this thing called Dutch framing, which he tilted. He does a lot more now, but like you said, this is baby Del Toro. It tilts the scene off the horizon just a little bit to make you feel uneasy during certain scenes. So when he gets that angle, it's like you're kind of icky feeling because it doesn't feel but it does exactly what he needs to do, and that's what I like about him. He uses practical so much to make you get into the movie, and it's just brilliant. And I think it has more effect than just all the CGI stuff.
What other like special effects things did you like about this film?
I like the exoskeleton on the old man, the grandpa at the end. That was fantastic. That was just the way the marble he turned to stone. It was just like, oh my God, that was just brilliant. I think that those two, the Cronos machine and the exoskeleton on his skin when he turned into alabaster, was just brilliant. Those are my two favorites.
Yeah. Karen, how about you?
I enjoyed the scarab clockwork thing. I think it's called a scarab.
Yeah.
I think that was the insect. Yeah, that was like really like my most loved graphic, and to know that it actually worked and to know that it was stolen was kind of sad. I wish, they could remake it and he could put it in his collection, but you know, um
Oh, he has it in his collection. They remade it from the mold.
oh,
It's
okay,
just
cool.
it's just not any of the ones that were actually in the film. All the ones that were made and used in the film were stolen.
Oh,
I wonder who stole them. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
surprising.
But yeah, the scarab was really really what I really enjoyed the most. And then the uncle, when he was talking about bits of pieces and they kind of panned out to his bits and pieces, I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
that's kind of creepy. Why are you keeping that, sir? Throw it away."
Yeah, all the organs that he replaced, he kept.
It's kind of creepy.
Real
Um
creepy.
yeah. The makeup work could have been a little bit better, but this is Baby Del Toro, so I didn't mind the makeup work, but the Jesus becoming stone at the end, that was actually pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um Too bad he couldn't, revert back to his old self after drinking some blood, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. The special effects I think were really great. Like, yeah, that the Cronos machine itself, phenomenal. But I liked a lot of the other different things, like the one scene where you see like the little special tail thing go and then it like inserts into his hand. Watching it insert, I thought that was great because I'm like, that that's not like a real human that it's inserting into. You know that that's like a prosthetic of some sort, but it looked real. It looked
And you could
so
feel it.
real.
You could feel
Hmm.
it.
It was like, ugh.
Yeah, and then like the other time when he did it on his chest and you saw the slow-mo of it going in like within centimeters of his nipple, which I thought that was a little weird. I was like, do you have to show the nipple? Does the nipple have to be in the background while his chest is getting pierced? It's just a little odd, but even just watching that, it was like, okay, that's cool. Like to have that attention to detail, which is purely Del Toro, I thought that was cool. And I did like when he was peeling his skin off. I
Yeah.
did think that was
Yeah.
kind of cool. I liked how it was sticky,
Hmm.
how it was sticky between his skin and the white underneath. That actually I thought was kind of interesting. And I thought that was like a neat take on it all.
Hmm.
And I thought they did a pretty decent job with the blood. The blood throughout the film I thought was pretty realistic, pretty on par. And especially for this being kind of a vampire film. It's vampire but not vampire. I
It's
mean, it's not
ghoulish,
even,
kind of.
huh?
It's kind of like ghoul-ish.
Yeah, kind of like a ghoul type of thing.
But it's not even like a ghoul because it is blood and just blood.
Yeah,
And it is very much like a vampiric blood thing.
like when he was in the bathroom.
Yeah,
It's
Mm.
like,
but at the same time, it doesn't match it doesn't match most like vampiric lore, especially not Latin vampiric lore. It doesn't match any of the Mexican vampire lore. It doesn't match anything from South America or Central America. It kind of has some similarities to like some Spanish, like Spain Spanish vampiric lore, but even then, it's like that vampire was like a one-toothed vampire, and it was weird. This still doesn't even match that, and so I'm just like, is this a vampire movie? It hits a lot of the mark, but is it a vampire movie? What do you guys think about the whole vampire thing?
Um, I really didn't. I mean, it seemed kind of weird that he needed blood, but he wasn't really a vampire. And the fact that he didn't hunt for his blood, he kind of came by it. Because most vampires go hunting for their blood, and he was just kind of like not going hunting, he kind of scavenged a little bit.
Well, you could see that he was also resisting it. Because, like,
Yeah,
there's multiple times where he came across and he's like, no, 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 I can't do that.
but at that same time, like he's denying himself nutrients and food, and he started to rot like a zombie corpse
Mm-hmm.
thingy, like he was a
Yeah.
ghoul, really. So I couldn't really decide if it was a vampire or a ghoul. But I liked is the storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
even if I couldn't decide what it was.
Yeah. Lisa, how about you?
Yeah, well, considering it doesn't really follow too many of the vampiric lore, and it was based on an alchemic device. Maybe that's why the rules changed. That's what I was thinking. And he was kind of insect-like when he was peeling off the skin and everything. And you could see he craved the blood, like when the guy's nose started bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And the bathroom scene, I still get the heebie-jeebies because it's like, oh, why are you licking the bottom of the bathroom floor? So
That
you
was
know what's
disgusting.
there. Yeah,
Because he was resisting so much.
yeah. It's hard to say that it's vampire. Maybe it is because it's magical, because the alchemy from the alchemist, the French guy.
Hmm.
That's why it probably doesn't follow the rules as much because it's not the usual making of a vampire. It was made by a mechanical,
Well, I mean, you
magical
have to
force,
think of,
or chemistry too.
but you have to think of, okay, what's the normal, like, how does somebody become a vampire originally? Not just like, how can you get turned into a vampire? It's like, how do you become one, like an original? And a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
it's a selling of the soul,
Mm-hmm.
but
He didn't
there,
sell his soul.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like original, like a lot of times that's what it is. That doesn't mean there isn't folklore that has it where it's done through other means. And we
Yeah.
don't even know all the ins and outs of that, of the Kronos device itself. We don't know if
Right.
it is something where, like, if you, give blood to it, that is you signing the contract and selling your soul.
He was craving to the device too.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to use it a lot. Even his granddaughter hid it,
Mm-hmm.
but he still found it. So might be part of the contract, like you said, since it was more magical.
There's a
It kind
lot of,
of, sorry.
go ahead.
It kind of reminds me of the Philosopher's Stone in the way,
Mm-hmm.
where people search for it and search for it and search for it, and when they get it, it's like they crave it every single time they use it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the law of magic, though. Um, whether you know you're doing it or not, there still is that law of magic of when you use it, there are repercussions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so using the alchemist Kronos device then equals there is a price that needs to be paid. And that price is now you need to drink blood in order to survive. And you need to use this device and it needs to stay intact in order for you
Mm-hmm.
to live. You know,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, you use this and you can live forever, but
Here's the catch.
here's the catch. I would say it's a vampire tale. Does it hit the how it started or like how you become a vampire thing correctly or commonly, I should say? No, but I don't know. I think it's a vampire tale. The bloodlust is enough for me to go, yeah, that's vampiric, not something
But
else.
but in a way, with alchemy, it's like an equivalent exchange. I mean, the thing takes his blood and cleans it and makes him immortal, but he has to get blood in order to stay immortal
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and use it
I mean,
again.
Exactly.
in a lot of places, alchemy is a form of magic. It just happens to be science-based magic versus woo-woo magic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know what you mean by woo-woo magic.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not
bibbity bobbity boo bullshit. It's more of a potions and scientific recipes. Like, okay, when you add this and this,
You get gold.
you get you get this. So I guess this is more like a sci-fi vampire tale.
Science. Science.
Science.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially with that laboratory that homeboy lived in. Ooh,
yeah,
Oh,
like science
yeah.
fiction, yeah.
yeah.
Which I thought that laboratory was kind of funny because you're coming in with a mask and booties, and at one point he just takes his mask off, and I'm like,
I know, right?
Right?
really? What's going on? Is he dying or is he not dying? Why you took your mask off? What's going on?
It reminded me of 2020 all over again.
It did.
Yes.
Like if you're going to be wearing PPE, wear it correctly, do it correctly, or don't do it at all. Like, come on, people.
Exactly.
Especially since his uncle is dying, and I'm like, okay, so you have your booties on, you have your mask on. Okay, if your
Hmm.
uncle's died, why don't you have a full hazmat suit on? What's going on?
I know, right? He didn't want to mess up his suit.
Like he has the gloves on, the whole nine. Yeah. Maybe
And then he just
maybe it
takes
just
off the
wasn't in
mask.
budget.
I'm like, why are you taking off the mask? What's going on?
Maybe it's just not in the budget.
Maybe he was drooling too much while he was talking and he had to take it off.
Or you couldn't understand him under the mask,
Sure.
True.
which is one of the reasons why Perlman speaks English a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because even though he did his Spanish good, they were like, no, we want you to be more like resistant to the old ways and resistant to being Mexican. That's like your whole thing, which is why he was constantly trying to figure out a nose job portion.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like, we're gonna add another layer to it, and it's just gonna be when you speak Spanish, it's done bad, and you're gonna want to speak English more times than not. And I was like, okay, that was kind of interesting. With that being said, though, this is recognized as one of the greatest horror films in Mexico, and specifically the Spanish language films, and it has a massive impact on the international films and the horror genre in films. What is y'all's take on its impact and everything?
I think it did a lot of good for the Spanish horror film. Then we got things like Wreck and some other really good Spanish films that I've seen. I like Spanish horror. It's good. It's a good story. He started the storytelling and they felt comfortable with telling their stories. They weren't, and then like there's a whole thing on Cheddar called on Mexican horror movies, which they're like short stories, but they're good. I watched the whole thing, and I think he helped out letting them tell their stories, and it made better films. And I don't know. I think it was a good. Honestly, I think it was a good push for them to start creating more in that
Yeah.
genre instead of the novellas. Like,
Karen, how about you?
I mean, for me, it opened up a whole another level of just storytelling. I'm not really familiar with Spanish or Mexican or any type of anything south of the border
Mm-hmm.
stories, but it did open up a lot of, things I can watch or should watch regarding horror and storytelling. I like I actually sat down and watched Apocalypse Z on
Mm-hmm.
Prime, and that was good storytelling. And it's in Spanish, and it takes place, in Spain, and because of Del Toro, it for me it makes it like it's a gateway to more Spanish horror because I can see like the beginning
and I could see like the end result for 2024 with Apocalypse Z.
Yeah.
And y'all need to watch it if y'all haven't seen it.
Okay.
Okay. I think this helped change the way stories were being told in Latin countries and Latin films specifically. But I think in the language of Spanish, there was something also there. I think it opened up doors that may not have been there before because it is something that is different. It doesn't hit the same way as a lot of the other ones. But now you have a whole section of Mexican or just Spanish, Latin horror that you can find on most streaming platforms. So the fact that there's even just like that available now, I mean, one of the first movies that we reviewed here was The Platform, which granted is Portuguese, but it's an international horror film that probably could not have gotten made without Cronos because you can see some similarities in the storytelling. You can see the way that it's being taught or being set up. And so I think it's had a huge impact. And I think even though it didn't win any awards, it was nominated for a bunch of stuff. And I don't think we can fault it for that. But now we're going to come to Karen's favorite part of the show. Where we are going to, because this came out in 94, right? 94?
Like 93, 94, yeah.
93 or 94, yeah.
Yeah, 94. It came out in May of 94 in the US. So that's been what, 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood is all for the remake. If we remade this film, who would we want in it? Let's just go ahead and cast the four main characters. So we have Jesus, who is the old man of the story. Originally, it was played by Federico Lupi. We have Angel de la Guarda, which is Ron Perlman's character. We have Claudio Brook, who played De La Guarda, which is Ron Perlman's character's uncle, who is the dying man. And then we have the granddaughter, Mercedes. I'm sorry, not Mercedes, Aurora.
Aurora.
And that was played by Tamara. So we're going to just replace those four because there's a ton of really cool characters throughout this entire thing, and we just don't have time to replace all of them. But we'll just replace those four. So we have a really old man, an old man who's kind of dying, a younger man, and then a little girl. So who would you take all of those parts, Karen?
Okay, so for Jesus Gres, I'll probably put Javier Bardem
Okay.
because he's a very versatile actor. I've seen him, dressed up in old man makeup. So for that, I could see him, de-aging as the movie progresses. Della, how you say his last name?
Guardia.
Guardia.
Mm-hmm.
I could see actually, Brian Cox playing him because I've seen him play different characters. He's a very, very good actor. If y'all don't know, he actually played the original Hannibal Lecter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could pull it off really well because I know he, at one point during the filming of Braveheart, he spoke different languages. So I think he could pull that really well. As for Angel, I'm kind of on the fence with that because I couldn't really think of anybody that would fit Angel. But my mind kept going back to Dave Bautista because he does have that look of, being a henchman, but he's very, very good at acting.
Yes.
Like, I've seen him in various roles, and I'm like, this man could act. So I would love to see him take part, as Angel, because I want to see what he could do with that part. As for the little girl, I don't know. As for Aurora, but she was my favorite character. I mean, I loved Aurora. I was like, little girl, I want her. I want her for my daughter.
Yeah. And the thing is she only said one word the
I know,
entire
right?
movie.
Right?
Exactly.
If Dakota Fanning, if she was still, a child, if we could like turn back the hands of time and make her, little again, she would be perfect for that part. Because with her, innocent eyes and whatnot, those big doughy eyes. Like, but I can't really think of any child actor that could, play Aurora.
Okay.
But my other favorite character was Tito, even though he was in there for like 5 minutes. I could see like, Pedro Pascal or Oscar Isaac play that role right there. Even though he was like in there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I could see that.
Now, he actually reprised the role of Tito in another film.
Really?
Really? Mm-hmm. So Tito's in
Really?
another film. No, but Tito was awesome. Tito was awesome. And yeah, you're right. Those two guys would be perfect for that role. Absolutely perfect for that role. Either one of them. Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
Okay, for the grandpa, I would have Antonio Banderas because I've seen him in some roles for sci-fi and horror, and he does a really good job. Plus, he has he has a similar look, the jaw line and everything, and he's handsome, just like this actor is handsome.
Oh yeah.
Ron Perlman, I would agree with you on Batista because he just does a really good job. I've been watching a lot of his films lately, and it's just there's something about him that he does good at every role, whether it's serious or it's humorous, like the lottery thing I saw. But he does a really good job. The old man, the one that he has to go see is it his father or his grandfather? I can't remember.
The dying one?
His uncle. Thank you. I got. I really don't know. It's really hard for me to figure out who it would really do a good role of it. I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I would think that would do a good role for that. And the little girl I would use the little girl, and I can't remember her name, but the one that was in Are You Afraid of the Dark, or the one that he used in the one with the little creatures that came out from the basement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. I was trying to look her up, but I couldn't find her. So, but she's got the big wide eyes, and I think she would do a really good job. She did a good job in that one too.
Yeah, no, I can agree on that. So for me, for Jesus, the old man, the grandpa, I actually was thinking Antonio Banderas for that one. But I could also see Andy Garcia
I didn't even think of that.
doing that. And honestly, like I could also see Andy doing De La Guerra, which like the dying guy. I could see him doing that one also. But he plays a bad guy quite a bit. So I kind of wanted him to play the good guy in this. But I could also see Antonio playing that guy. He's got the chops for it. For Angel, Baptista would be amazing. But I actually was thinking of Javier Bardem because the Angel doesn't have to be a super young guy. Even though Ron Perlman was pretty young when he played the role, he doesn't have to be a young guy. I mean, this is a guy who's waiting on Homeboy to kick the bucket so he can inherit everything. So this could be a guy who's a little older, who's like, "Your time is up, man. I put in my dues. I'm done. I'm done waiting."
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he is of that age of he's done waiting.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
For the little girl, Aurora, I actually, if we could turn back time, I actually would have loved Daphne Keene, who plays X-23 in Logan, Laura.
Oh yeah.
She would have been fantastic as Aurora. She's got that. She knows how to act with her face. She would have been perfect, absolutely perfect for that role. And then for Tito, it's kind of like I don't know. For me, it's kind of like putting him in a box a little bit. But Michael Pena,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think he would make a great Tito.
I do. Yeah. Okay.
I just thought of who would make the great dying uncle. Lou Diamond Phillips.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Also, I thought of John Leguizamo as Angel.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, John would be good at that too.
Mm-hmm.
He would be very good at that.
Now I'm trying to think of other actors.
Right? I'm like, who
Yeah,
else
I know,
would be
right?
really good in this?
Yeah, John Leguizamo. Yeah, he plays impatient so well.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, what about the guy from Battlestar Galactica?
Which one?
The
Which version?
I saw he was on Lee. What's that? Oh God, I see his face. I
yeah.
see his face. He played in like several movies.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. He was like the captain.
Hold on,
Oh, I know who
Edward
you're
James
talking about.
almost. Edward James
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah,
Yes.
him.
I
He
can
would
see
be
that.
really good.
I can see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because he was in that movie like back in the '80s, Stand and Deliver. I
Right.
remember him in that one. Like that was my introduction to Edward James almost. Mr. Edward James almost.
Danny Trejo for Tito.
Oh God, yes.
I love Danny.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not wrong. He would be great at it.
You would be sitting there
Yeah,
putting
he
makeup
was.
on the dead and trying to fix him up. It's like, what? We're just gonna burn him? I'm not putting all this work in.
I mean, if you wanted to do a little bit of a gender swap, I could see Aubrey Plaza doing Angel.
Mm.
I think she would be fantastic.
Or Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
I
You
like
could
the
also
fact that
do Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if we did like full on gender swapping on like all the different roles, I think Selma Hayek actually would be really good as
oh
Jesus.
yeah, yeah, yes, you would.
Definitely. I mean, you just,
And then have
great.
Penelope Cruz be the De La Guerra.
Yeah, that would be good.
Mm. All right, Del Toro, come talk to us. Do a gender swap. Redo the story. Keep the little girl as the little girl because that worked. That worked. I think there's something special about like the little girl. I think he does it fantastic in all of his films, but he does so well portraying little girls and writing
Hmm.
them and writing their innocence and their imaginations. I mean, for being a dude writing a character for like a little girl, he does a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does.
Any other fun facts that you guys have for this?
I do. There is a standalone sequel to this that was made in 2010 called "We Are What We Are," and I'm still looking for
Okay.
it. And let's see what else. Other than the stealing of the thing, and they went over budget by half. They had a budget of 1.5 million, but they went into $2 million for their budget.
Del Toro actually took out loans.
Who directed that? We Are What We Are.
It's not
It
Del
didn't
Toro
say in the fun fact, but that's why I said it was a standalone sequel, air quotes.
because I think that was the other
So,
film that Tito was in. Yeah, We Are What We Are, which was done in 2010, and it was done by Juan Carlos Colombio.
mhm. Now here's another one that says 2013. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Hmm.
What was your other?
That was it. Other than the thing, the Cronos machines got stolen, and we are what we are, and then the $2 million where we had to take one. Because you already said the
Yeah,
Ron Perlman one.
yeah. So on IMDb, under their trivia portion, there was a fun fact that I thought was interesting, and it was Toro met with Universal about picking up this film in '93. They told him they wanted to buy the rights so they could remake it. And Del Toro was like, no, and was quoted as saying, who wants to see Jack Lemmon lick blood off the floor? And I was
I
like,
don't.
okay, that's fair fact. That's fair. Absolutely fair.
Uh-huh.
Another fun fact about this film, according to IMDb's trivia section, which if you guys
don't already check out the trivia section on IMDb, you guys should, because there's some really funny things that get like posted up in there. Which I will say this.
Absolutely.
A lot of the times you can actually find like the original sources for a lot of these fun facts. So it's not like they're just random BS people are posting up in there. Like a lot of times it is verified information. But one of them is that when Del Toro started writing this back in 1984, so 10 years before it got released, the title that he had was The Vampire of Grey Dawn, which Jesus's last name is Grey, and Grey means gray. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, and the majority of the movie took place in 96/97, even though this movie was made in 93. The movie's timeline is 96/97. Or originally it starts in 1536 with the alchemist, then in 1937 with the guy who sold the thing, and then 96 and 97 with the old man, Jesus. Jesus?
Jesus.
All right, so with fun fact time being done, we'll go ahead and everybody can do their final thoughts and skull ratings. And Lisa, since you're the one who brought this movie to us, you get to go first.
Yay. Okay. Final thoughts. It's brilliant for its time. It's brilliant for his very first movie. Proves to everybody that he's been a storyteller all his life. I rate it 5 out of 5 skulls.
Okay.
I think it's great for the first time movie that you ever make with such a limited budget. So there we go, 5 out of 5. And if you want to see it, it is streaming on Max. If you have Max.
Karen, how about you?
Okay. So I actually really thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Like Lisa said, is on Max. So you don't have to worry about it, trying to find it unless they take it off of Max. And the fact that my cat actually watched it with me, he like laid down and watched the movie. That says a lot. So I give it a 4.5.
That's fair.
The other half part is some of the makeup could have been like when Jesus was rotting and he was putting off flesh, that makeup could have been a little bit better. But this is like the early 90s, so.
Yeah. For me, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I'm glad I finally took the time to watch it. It's been on my list for a hot minute, and so I'm glad I finally got to see it and thoroughly enjoy it. I love the storytelling. It's Del Toro, so I knew I would love the film. Special effects I thought were pretty great. The blood was on par. And again, the story itself was really good. Like if they remade this film, as long as they kept the story the same and just maybe up the special effects to more modern stuff and, just modernized it, I would be okay with that because the story itself was actually really good. Actually, I would love to read this as a book. I think it would make an excellent book. Honestly, I can't think of anything that I didn't like about it.
So I gave it a 4.5 is because I wanted to see the scene of Jesus getting out of the crematorium.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
But yeah, I personally can't think of anything that I didn't really that I didn't like about the film that would be enough to like knock it down anything. I don't think it's a full 5 skulls, but it's like a 4.99. Like I think just like overall because I know that it's a baby film. Like I know it's a first time up at bat kind of thing. And I'm hoping that that's not clouding my judgment on it. But like it's one of those deals of like for it being a first film, this is fantastic. But it is a first film and you can tell that it is. I think there's little elements throughout that kind of showcase that. But overall, it's a fantastic film. I definitely recommend it for people to watch, especially if they do love Del Toro. And I was like, get in there then. Like, go watch his very first feature film. Like, you got to go see that. That is one that I will be keeping an eye out at some of my local theaters, that if they ever show it, I will go to see it in the theater, because I think it is made to be seen on a big screen. So yeah, our lovely little ghouls. What about you? Do you think this is a vampire film? Now that we know that, like, originally it was supposed to be, based on the first working title of it. But two, how do you think Del Toro did with his very first feature film? Come tell us on our social media. You can continue the conversation with us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, of course, our Facebook group. So please come join the group. We would love to have you guys there, chit chat along with us. And you can also subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. You can even talk to us on there by leaving some cool, fun comments. Please give us a thumbs up and let us know that you love the show. But ladies, where can they find y'all at? Lisa?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Threads, TikTok. And now you can find my horror blog on Blogger, which I talk in depth about different types of horror and all kinds of mysterious things. And please leave comments, because I will talk back to you.
Karen, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, as Karen R. Bembry. You can find me on TikTok as Karen the Writer. You can find me on Reddit as the Queen's Writer. And also on Threads as Karen the Writer.
And I'm Shannon. You can find me on all the things at Spilled Tea, Wine, Medium Mind. And before we go, our lovely little ghouls, you know how much we love you guys, and we appreciate you joining us, and all your support. I just got when we recorded this episode, I just had received our Spotify wrap up of the year. Great stats for us to look at. So thank you so much. We love you guys, and we hope you all stay spooky. Our lovely little ghouls.
And this has been the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.